we are back for another episode of Bringing the Heat. I'm your host, Steve, joined by a new host, Lucas DeSangro. Lucas, I am excited to have you on the show. It is awesome because I am now officially starting the series into combat sports and professional wrestling. Today, we will be delving into professional wrestling. I'm excited. Thank you so much for joining. I'm excited. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling really good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm also very excited. It's always a fun time when you get to talk about professional wrestling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for anybody who isn't sure about Lucas, he's actually a professional wrestler for the Monster Factory in Paulsboro, New Jersey. I highly recommend you check them out. Some of their notable alumni: Damian Priest, Matt Riddle, Sheamus, I believe The Big Show.
Yes, Bam Bam Bigelow, Tony Atlas, Raven, Chris Candido, the list. It's an extensive list.
It's crazy, and
Yeah.
I love it because now I have a host with a little bit of credibility. It's not just me bullshitting with my friends, and I'm excited. So we're gonna jump into it. So how I kind of wanted to structure this was we're gonna talk about WWE and AEW, and I want to cover their weekly shows, and I will also be talking about some like outsider wrestling news.
Yeah, of course.
So let's just get in. We'll start with WWE. All right. So this past Raw, I tuned in for a little bit, but look, the best thing I think Raw has going for it right now is Bobby Lashley for this, like in the Hurt Business and this gimmick. It is fantastic. I love it.
I agree. I think it's great that Bobby became champion. I do think that I don't know, man. I really feel bad for Drew. Not the like in the sense of he had a great title run. He really carried WWE and Raw, especially in the Performance Center era, you know. And the fact that he didn't get to have that win in front of fans is bittersweet. But I'm very happy for Lashley because it seemed like when they brought him back, it seemed like they didn't know what to do with him at first. So I'm very happy that. I mean, I'm upset that the Hurt Business isn't a thing anymore. But I love MVP. I love Lashley. I'm very excited to see where this goes going forward after the match at Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, I agree. I think when they brought him back originally, his gimmick immediately reminded me. I don't know if you watched him in TNA like 5 years ago.
Of course.
It really felt exactly like that, and it wasn't that good because I feel like he had so much more to offer, and it was sort of like Bobby's first reign, where like he came in and he's this total badass, and he's just like owning everybody. He comes back with the Hurt Business, and like you said, yeah, I think MVP is fantastic. I mean, he's a good wrestler, but as like a manager or whatever you want to call it, like in control of that stable, that was awesome. I just love watching it. I thought there was a lot to give, and I think right now, I mean, yeah, Shelton and Cedric, I think they are really talented wrestlers, but I feel like I think they're feuding currently right now, but I don't know. I feel like they would have been better if they stayed as the Hurt Business. Maybe that's just me, but like, I don't know.
Cedric seems like like there were so many times where they've gone start and stop with him, and it just I really want them to find something consistent for him to do because he's so good. And he had that feud with Styles, and it seemed like he was on the up and up, and then he petered out again, and then and then the Hurt Business was great. It's like guys like him, Apollo Crews, Ali, Ricochet. There's so much you can do with them, and I just feel like they could be doing more, and I really hope that changes.
I agree. And you had mentioned Drew, and I have noticed, and I felt, yeah, like you said, he did carry them last year over the pandemic, and I understand that not everybody loved Drew. Like the characters wasn't great. I get it, but he did a lot. He kept them in it. It was entertaining. His gimmick was cool.
I enjoyed his run.
Yeah, me too.
I just wish it could have been in front of fans. I think it would have been awesome. And then it's also like, oh, everyone thought that at Mania they were going to try. They wanted it to be like, oh, maybe they want Drew to win it back in front, but he had already lost the title the first time. Then he lost it again, and it's like I think you got to give it to Lashley. Let him run with it. I don't know. It's just after watching Mania and just seeing the fans, it's obviously within reason for the interest of safety, I want to see fans come back, man. Like watching Double or Nothing. I know we're going to get to that a little bit later, but watching Double or Nothing with fans and like even the crowd singing along to Jungle Boy's theme, right? It was stuck in my head, but I'm so excited to have fans back, man. I'm really excited for that. It makes it just feel so much more special.
Exactly, and we know specifically when they tried the Thunderdome crowd noise. I like that they were like the virtual fans.
I didn't mind it. I thought it was creative. I think Vince was very happy with it.
Exactly. I think it was.
I can control what they say. Yes, I love it.
It's good shit.
Such good shit. Good shit.
And that's the thing. It was cool because there were no fans, so you figure, okay, we'll do virtual fans and you'll pipe in crowd noise. Okay, fine. But when they're coming back, like we've seen it with the NFL and other sports, and especially AEW bringing back fans, we're seeing like how like it's so refreshing after a year of no fans. And so like that's why I feel like for Drew at least it was a little diminished, and I didn't like how they're forcing him to like, continuously like feud with Bobby. Maybe it's they don't have a certain person they want to push.
Well, didn't they feud in TNA as well over the title?
I believe they did. Yeah, I think when Drew first got there, I think in like 2015, 2016, I want to say. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
People always talk about it. People get really the thing. Like I love wrestling fans, and I also kind of hate wrestling fans, and that's probably a precarious thing to say, especially because I'm going to have to rely on fans for me to become really successful. But like, I think it just gets so hypocritical. There's certain guys you could watch fight all day, and then it's like I think that what Drew and Bobby have done is good. I also think that I don't think they're going to do it all year, but it's important to have like this little placeholder until they can find out who to make the next contender. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Sometimes, familiarity breeds contempt. I understand that. But like they haven't put on anything that's bad.
Exactly.
So I can't be too upset with it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. At least for me, even though I might not love the way, or at least the way they're extending this rivalry, I don't like it because it just feels like you're really trying to just juice it, and it's like there's nothing there. Like something needs to happen, and I think after Hell in a Cell, I'm pretty sure that would probably be the final straw. I think Bobby should win, and then I think there was talks over the summer for Brock coming back, and then he could feud with Bobby.
Ooh.
That would be insane. I would go absolutely.
That would be very interesting. But then again, it's like, I don't mean to sound negative because I do like Brock. My biggest problem has always been, personally, just my opinion, I never liked him in the title picture because it just seemed like it was on the title would be on a divorced dad schedule. You know what I mean? True. Like, I'll see you at Christmas, kid. And it's like, but we still have like 5 more. I said, I'll see you at Christmas. Okay. That's fine. I like Brock. I like him being in WWE. I don't even mind him fighting for the title, but him to be champion just because it also means like you only know there's like only a certain amount of people who are like, okay, maybe he'll beat Brock. And then everyone else, it's like, all right, hopefully they'll put on a good match.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the problem. I think, and as a fan myself, I also really enjoy Brock ever since he came back in 2012. He's been probably my second or third favorite wrestler, like just in general. I don't know.
I can't really think of a bad match he's had since coming back.
Yeah, like everybody they point out like the fact that he does a few like generic moves and then like the match is usually over. But I feel like
I think it comes around of who he really wants to work with.
Exactly.
You've seen like he and Styles had a great match. He and Balor had a great match. I think it just comes around to how much does he really care about the match at hand. And I can't fault him for that. I can't say I've been the same way where it's like, all right, we're just going to do this, but then again, I'm not in his situation. Mm-hmm. If he were to come back and feud with Bobby, I think it would put Bobby over huge. It would raise his stock to like the next level.
Oh yeah.
If he beat Brock.
But yeah, so I think that'll be an interesting little side note, I'll definitely keep an eye on it because SummerSlam is August 21st, so we're about a little more than 2 months out.
Absolutely. Oh wow.
Yeah, it's close, but we're getting there, and I think if they want to, they could really develop it. I think, and that'll
What's
make
the
you
deal with
wonder.
Money in the Bank this year? Is Money in the Bank happening? Because I thought Money in the Bank was usually like, I thought that was usually the big thing after, like, that was the prelude to SummerSlam. Is that happening in July or?
I don't know, honestly. I think so. I think Hell in a Cell is in June, and then it might be July, but I don't know. Like, see, this is the problem. Last couple of years, WWE has had so many, like, every month's a pay per view, and in theory, you think that's a good idea, but they're not developing anything. So it's just like there's always a pay per view every month, and you're like trying to keep track of what's happening, and it like takes down the merit or like how good something could be.
No, I think it's just a thing of like, I think the scheduling is what throws a lot of people off.
Yeah.
There have been a few years where like Backlash or Payback's the next month, and then it's Extreme Rules, then it's Money in the Bank, then it's SummerSlam, or they did last year. They did SummerSlam, the pay per view, the very next pay per view after Mania, I think, or it might have been the second pay per view, which I don't have a problem with either. I think. Unfortunately, there's this lull between SummerSlam and the Royal Rumble where it's, I don't want to say going through the motions because I would like a job there someday, but I really got to watch my tongue. But it's just a thing of like, obviously football season's back on, and there are a lot of factors, and it just turns into like, all right, well, let's just trudge along until WrestleMania season. But like Mania to SummerSlam is some of my favorite. It's like my favorite season to be a wrestling fan for so many reasons.
That's a fair point. I think, the summer
really. Royal Rumble to SummerSlam technically, because it's like,
yeah, you're right.
It's that because first of all the Royal Rumble, then it's like spring's right around the corner. My birthday's in March, so usually like WrestleMania is either a little bit like usually like right after or it's just fun, And
that's the thing. Like I think between like I would say Royal Rumble to SummerSlam is probably their peak, and then I guess that would be like September, October, November, and then December. They're not always bad months for pay-per-views, but it's really about developing stories and just like it's like rivalries that they're not big, but like it's entertaining.
I will say this though, like pre-Royal Rumble, like WWE consistently had some really good. I don't know if it was just because there weren't fans to influence whether or not, because I think the reaction of fans really does play a part in whether or not a match is good. If you watch Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg at Mania 20 without sound, it's a decent match. It's not the best match in the world, but it's a decent match.
Yeah.
But it didn't help that the fans were like, they knew that Brock and Goldberg were on their way out, and they just couldn't care less. And are we allowed to curse?
Yeah, you're good. You could.
So they shat all over that match. They really did. Like it was so. I felt bad.
Honestly, as a kid, that was one of my favorite WrestleManias, and I honestly
20's a great WrestleMania. It's a long WrestleMania, but it's pretty long. And I mean, probably not by today's standards, but yeah, match is good.
To that match, I hadn't realized how fans just didn't like that match, and so like I went back and watched it a couple months ago, and I just like listened to the crowd noise. I'm like, I don't remember the crowd hating it this much. I was like, this seemed like a decent match. I mean,
you know why? Because we were young and innocent, and we didn't know what we know now about wrestling.
Damn it!
Exactly. No, but like we didn't know about work rate. I didn't know. There was when I was a wrestling fan up until I was about 15, where I started to learn what all the different terminology was when you got smartened up. And there is a difference between being a smart fan and being a smark.
Yeah.
The one thing you don't want to be is a smark. And for those of you who don't know what that is, a smart mark, imagine the Robot Chicken nerd, the nerd from Robot Chicken, right? Or the comic book guy from The Simpsons, and just worst match ever. Just like they just shit on everything. Can't find a good thing to say about it, except unless it's an obscure match on the indies or in Japan. It's just, yeah. But like getting smartened up and knowing the different like baby face and heel, and it just kind of ruins it a little bit. because you can't even boo bad guys that much anymore.
Sure.
It's even harder for me because like I know how good some of these people are at their jobs. Like I can't tell you. Like I don't mean to name drop. I've shared I've shared a locker room with MJF a few times.
Really?
Yeah. When he
awesome.
was really like when he was coming up, like it's been a while, but like he's just so good at getting people to boo him that you can't help but like I can't help but like silently clap because it's like there was a show I drove a buddy of mine. He was on DJZ or Joaquin Wild from Santos Escobar's group in NXT. It was his last show on the independent circuit in Cleveland. And that match, there was that same show. It was Shane Douglas versus MJF. And no disrespect to Shane Douglas, but it was the only time I ever heard a modern wrestling crowd fully get behind Shane Douglas in a match. And I don't mean that as a slight. It just showed because Shane Douglas was usually a heel. Like I'm not used to seeing him in a babyface role. So the fact that you had MJ, like as soon as his music hit, boo, fuck you, like it warmed my heart because he's so good at being just a piece of shit.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Cheers, MJ.
We'll get into it in AEW, but I mean, we're older now, right? Like, so we're in our early 20s. We've had a lot of experience with wrestling. As a fan, you're obviously wrestling now, but I literally just watched the episode from Friday. Like, I watched it Friday night.
Yeah,
and like it was just the inner circle talking about MJF, and it just reminded me, like, God, I love to hate this guy. And I'm like, I just get so angry. And I'm like,
he's one of the best pure heels. I think
he's a good wrestler. That's the thing. Like, he's not just like talking shit to people. He's like, he's
I mean, wrestler. I will say this. There is a difference between being a good wrestler and a great worker.
Yeah, exactly.
Because being a great worker means that you don't have to rely on your technical prowess or doing death-defying things. Working wrestling is about technique. Working is about storytelling and psychology.
Yeah.
And MJF is masterful at that. It's like someone to pick it up that quickly. Mm-hmm. It's just, it's awe-inspiring. The guy's so good.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Just to transition a little bit. So, yeah, Raw isn't too bad right now. I mean, I
speaking of really good heels, I mean, yeah. You're going into SmackDown now, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So, like, if we go to SmackDown, Roman Reigns, the transition from the Roman Reigns, former member of the Shield, to the Tribal Chief is a complete 180. I cannot believe how good, like, he sells, and like his promos have gotten tremendously better. I can't believe it.
Because I think well, first of all, when you have someone like Paul Heyman, who helps you kind of punch up, and by that I mean it's like punch up is an industry term, not pro wrestling, but like in entertainment. When you have someone punch up jokes for you, it's just like they kind of like they go in and edit things, and it helps when you have someone like Paul Heyman, who again just so good at. When you talk about someone who could talk me into a building, Paul Heyman. When you have a guy 100%. Like that, and you also let him say, like, when you let him actually talk and it's not someone else's words,
yep,
it definitely goes a long way. I think that I've been a fan of the Usos. They're down since day one. That character change is so good because I think it's more them.
Exactly.
Than them embracing doing the haka and the. I thought that was cool too, but they've been a great tag team, but they really showed something special since this whole Roman, his Tribal Chief run. It's just amplified it. Yeah.
Going to SmackDown, I had watched it, I believe yesterday. I watched the recording. Because we're recording this on Sunday, so 2 days after, and Roman was
breaking the fourth wall, dude. What the heck?
I know, damn it. I'm sorry.
Hey, Cole Cabana, how you doing?
Oh God, he's not gonna like that plug. Uh, but you compare it to seeing like how the Usos now work with Roman, and Roman's kind of like playing it off like they need to follow him because he's the head of the family, and Jimmy comes back from injury, and they're still as a tag team, I think, unofficially, but like Jay doesn't really want to be it, so I think they're definitely going down that road where it's probably going to end up being a Jimmy versus Jay match. Stipulation is if Jimmy loses, he joins them, something like that.
I will say this: if anything, the way that Roman loses needs to be Jay costing him it purposely, like him
100%.
kind of motherfucking Roman.
Oh, easily. Yeah,
Because I think that after all the abuse he takes, like I just want it to be that, meaning like Jay has a hand in like some sort of no holds barred match, and Jay just completely fucks Roman over justifiably. I would be such a big fan of that.
Yeah, I think that honestly would be like the icing on the cake. Kind of, it would tie a bow on this because it's weird. I think the gimmick's been about like I want to say going upwards of like 7 or 8 months, maybe a little longer.
I think it was like right before SummerSlam.
Yeah, it's
or it might have been right at SummerSlam,
which is pretty
almost
rare.
a year.
Yeah,
Almost a year.
It's rare for WWE to follow through with this long term storytelling, and it's paid off. And I think Roman, you're watching his promos, and you're like, he isn't messing up. It makes sense. He sounds good. He's confident. He's just like, I'm the best, and I'm the head of the family. I'm the champion. And you have somebody like Paul Heyman, like you said, I would say is the greatest manager slash guy on the mic that I've ever seen.
The modern era, yeah,
like easily in the last 30 years. I mean, there's just he's convincing, and he's just there's something about the charisma between both of them, and then it forms into this character. And I think this story with the Usos has been fantastic.
Absolutely.
And another part of SmackDown I thought has been good the last couple of weeks, maybe about a month, has been Seth and Cesaro. Seth, with the suit game, is on fire. It's been like 2 months straight, I think, of the suits. I love it. His gimmick, he's just a snarky, just a smart ass guy who's like, I can do what I want. It's all about me. Cesaro's trying to redeem himself, trying to prove why he belongs in that main event picture. And I think Cesaro's awesome. I think he's a great wrestler. I think this is just that antiquated push that like I think fans have been asking for the last couple of years. And I'm excited, honestly. Like I think that feud in itself, I could watch them fight like 8 times, 9 times, like in a row, and I'd be like, I'm still good with that. It's entertaining.
I'm so happy that Cesaro is finally getting more recognition. It's always seemed like it was start and stop again, but there's something about he's just, first of all, in terms of his in-ring stuff and just the strength, he is I think Kevin Owens once described him as a human horse, which kind of that tracks.
Yeah.
Like, but Cesaro is so good, and he's someone that could be a main event player, and he's even like he's charming, charismatic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that he's not a good promo when I say like his it's cut and dry, straight to the point, and I appreciate that. Him saying like, "Hey, I've been overlooked for a while, but I know I can out wrestle all of you with my eyes closed, like, and I deserve to be here." And sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes you don't need to have this eloquent, drawn out point.
And it's true. I think in his case, it is. I mean, the Cesaro swing. I mean, I understand wrestlers. You're not always. That's the thing about wrestling. The mystique is people don't understand. Like you're.
Oh, no. I'd see as someone who's tried the Cesaro swing on other people, that's all him.
Yeah, it's crazy.
No one's like, usually it's like you're posting on someone or you're jumping with them to make it go higher.
Yeah.
That's all him. All they have to do is just like
it's crazy how strong. Like
when he
pound for
swung
pound,
Kali, remember when he swung the Great Kali?
Yeah,
Holy crap! Like it was insane.
Kali's 7 foot, 400 pounds, and he was swinging like.
I'm surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. Like this might sound dorky, but I wouldn't be surprised if you peeled back his skin and his muscle wasn't just like Colossus underneath from the X-Men. Like it wasn't just metal, just steel cables. You know what I mean? Like steel fibers.
It's almost like inhuman, like how strong he can be, and he makes it look effortless, and I love that.
He's just got raw power.
Mm-hmm.
He's got horsepower. He's
pretty much
freaking stallion,
and it's great. But another part of SmackDown's been pretty solid is Bianca, her feud with Sasha, and I think Bayley on Friday they were doing a minor feud. I just think Bianca's great. I like her in-ring talent. I like the NXT, like, okay, she's coming up through the ranks, and now she's like the star. I would say even just combining WWE's women divisions, she's probably the face of it right now. And
I'm not sure about that. But I do agree that she's really come into her own this past year even.
Mm-hmm.
I think that she is rightfully. I think that she really earned that title win at Mania. That match, they deserved that main event spot of night one. They tore it down. And my thing is we always are infatuated with the chase, right, of the title. Yep. But I think what's important is to have a good follow through. I really hope that she can have a consistent reign as champion.
I agree.
Because I want to be able to remember. It's nice to remember like when someone has a cool moment. Like I always bring up Daniel Bryan. His win at WrestleMania 30 was awesome. It just gives me goosebumps thinking about it to this day. But he didn't. I mean, due to injury also, but he didn't have the strongest start to his title feud. And you always want to look back at a champion, not only just think it was so cool when they won the title, but also they had a great reign. And it always seems like heels have better reigns than faces. Yeah, and I'd like to see that change.
Yeah, I agree. I think lately it's definitely been more of a heel type of fan. Like even the fans, they get behind the heels where you're supposed to boo them and hate them. You're finding yourself aligning with them. You're like, yeah, no, I'm gonna stick with the bad guys because they're interesting or they are doing something that's provoking that emotion that you're like, I'm one of them. Like I could definitely be a champion.
Yeah.
And so I think SmackDown, I think that is clearly the better show right now in WWE. But going into more WWE news. So I'm combining the list a little bit, but over the last, I'd say 3 weeks combined, they have released some big talent. Talent includes Braun Strowman, Buddy Murphy, Aleister Black, Ruby Riott, Lana, and Samoa Joe. A few other
Kalisto as well. Kalisto. Santana Garrett was I'd say to the casual fan a lesser known name, but if you followed her work in MLW and in TNA, I think they're all going to be fine.
Me too.
I think. I mean, also, well, they also. I mean, this goes back a few more weeks than that, but they're like that initial. I think it was before WrestleMania, you had people getting released.
Yeah, I believe so.
Forgotten Sons, Steve Cutler. That's another name. Yeah. Someone who was trained by the Monster Factory, Steve Cutler. I think they'll land on their feet fine. I could see Alice. I could see Aleister and Joe and Kalisto going to AEW. I can see Strowman going to Impact. Like my theory is that guys that weren't indie guys pre WWE run, I feel like they find themselves going to Impact, which isn't a bad thing. It's a really good thing.
Yeah, I agree.
But when you look at like Kurt Hawkins, Zack Ryder, even like before this, when Lashley and Drew, I mean, Drew also kind of did the indies as well, but a lot of guys that were performance center, like they were developmental talent. They were brought in. They weren't known on the indies before they were in WWE.
Yeah.
They find themselves going to Impact. And I don't know, maybe it's a comfort thing. I can't claim to know Like the only person I can think of that post their post WWE run, they really wanted to take the route of the journeyman was Cody Rhodes.
Mm-hmm.
I can see Ruby Riott doing the indies, you know, being a staple. Like I could see her in AEW as well, but just the only thing that kind of sucks is there's no Chikara anymore. Because I feel like if she had come back to if Chikara was around, her coming back would have been a surefire thing.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, right? I mean, and you said like how you feel like some of them would belong better in AEW versus the Indies. Everybody sees the releases and they're like, "Go to AEW," and I'm like, "Well, let's hold on now. Not everybody can go to AEW." And if we're being honest, I think like Buddy and Alistair and even Samoa Joe, I think all three would belong in AEW. Whereas
I don't know, man. I think there's sometimes in Buddy's case, it becomes a matter of visa. He can't go anywhere. I think he has a no compete clause. A lot of these wrestlers have 90-day no compete clauses on their contracts, which means that they can't. They kind of sit at home. I don't know if they get paid or not, but if that's the case, I don't know what Buddy Murphy's visa situation is. He's from Australia originally. Yeah. I know Alistair married an American, so he's set. He's good. I could see Buddy Murphy maybe just going back to Australia. I could see him even going to MLW. I think that MLW is, I mean, I think people are sleeping on MLW a lot. I think that you have a lot of great talent that, I mean, they also kind of share talent with Impact and AEW in a sense, but they got a really good group of wrestlers there. Jordan Oliver, for instance, he's been tearing it up on the independent scene, but he's been doing great in MLW. You have a lot of luchadors, TJP even. Like, there's a lot of great matches and a lot of great talent that goes on at MLW. And I think that it'll be interesting to see where everyone ends up, but I think they'll be fine. They'll land on
for sure. I agree. I think they're all talented enough. They all have now they have their name built with WWE, and I think they're all going to be fine, regardless of what company they go to or promotion, wherever they want to go. So I think all the releases that they're all talented wrestlers. Like I don't doubt that they're not going to be able to find work.
This is kind of out there, but I could see Strowman even going to Japan. I could see him becoming a monster heel in Japan. Yeah, I mean, I think it's at the end of the day, it's up to him. But I could see him just running through people. Not exactly New Japan, but I could see him pulling like an Andre or a Bruiser Brody.
I was going to say, I don't know if he would fit in New Japan, but that might.
Well, I think he would. I mean, it's not that he's not. I think he's entertaining.
Yeah,
I think he can put on some great matches. Like those matches he had with Roman, they just beat the piss out of each other, dude. Those were fantastic. And I think you put him in the ring with guys like, I don't know. I kind of want to see Suzuki and Strowman go at it. I want to see Minoru Suzuki fuck each other up. I want to see him, and I think. But again, it's ultimately up to him. I would love to see Joe do a few runs in Japan as well. I mean, you saw Leo Rush just signed, and Leo Rush in a Best of the Super Juniors. Holy shit, dude! Sign me up.
Yeah, facts. Honestly, so in conclusion with our WWE talk, they announced, I believe yesterday afternoon, that SummerSlam will be at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. It's supposed to sell about 65 to 70,000 tickets, and that will be August 21st. And that will be the first WWE pay-per-view back with fans, and I think that's great. And they're not easing into it. They're going back to a full crowd immediately. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, SummerSlam's definitely the best time to do it.
Oh yeah.
I think it's it's almost like a second WrestleMania in a sense. Not on the biggest scale, but like WrestleMania it's the biggest show of the year, and you get a lot of great matches, but SummerSlam's like a love letter to the wrestling fan. You know what I mean?
That's a good
that's where you get it. That's where you get the matches that are for the fans. Like, I want to see. I mean, I don't care how long. I really fight. I want to see Owens and Sammy
Me too.
I want to see them. Mania was great. Their match at Mania was great. I really was hoping they were going to pull out the package pile driver. That and like they keep teasing the top rope brainbuster, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm wearing the Dancing Sammy shirt now. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are two of my current favorite wrestlers. That just magic everywhere they go. Doesn't matter if they're facing each other or they're facing other people. They just are so good.
They are entertaining. I give you that. I do like both of them. Their chemistry is real. They enjoy working with each other.
Well,
They are
imagine
best
it's
friends.
like, yeah, they've been wrestling each other, and that's the thing about like, as a wrestler, I want someone like that. I want
Yeah.
a guy that I've wrestled almost my entire career, because that way there comes a point where you wrestle certain people, and I'm going to tear back the curtain a little bit. As a wrestler, there's certain people that you wrestle enough times that you don't have to worry about calling too much. You know each other's moves and you know how you work enough to where like not even like just calling it in the ring, but it's that thing of like, hey, you want to do the thing we did back in August? Yeah, sure, let's do that. All right, and then maybe we can try this as well, and you can just build off of that.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
you know what works and what doesn't. So all you like it makes the pre-match preparation a lot easier, because I don't have to worry about calling the match. Is the guy going to remember this spot? And going over it ad nauseum? I can just throw in my earbuds and just zero myself in. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But yeah, so we're gonna transition a little bit now. We're gonna go into AEW. So Double or Nothing was the pay per view. It took place last Sunday, I believe.
Yes.
Sunday, and so I'll just give a quick recap. So Moxley and Eddie Kingston, they lost against the Young Bucks. Great match.
So good.
They're a fantastic team. Jungle Boy won the Casino Battle Royale, so he's gonna get a chance against Kenny Omega for the AEW World Title. Another wrestler, I think Jungle Boy, the Baltimore theme, love it. I sing it. I'm every time I hear it, I can't stop singing it.
I was at work. I'm just going like, oh, damn it, Jungle Boy.
Yeah,
Hangman Page. They opened the show with Hangman Page and Brian Cage.
Exactly.
That was good.
That was great. I like that match too. I love that they got Kenny with Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, Don Callis, and they're fading in between like AEW and Impact, and they're kind of just like coming over, crossing over each show, and they're helping him. And I love it because he's the heel, but like it's that old school wrestling, like he needs help to win.
Can we talk about that triple threat and just how good that match was?
Yeah, between Orange Cassidy, Pac, and Kenny. That was so good. And honestly, I
thought Cassidy was going to win it a few for a split second. I was like, oh, they're really going to go through with this. And now it makes me want to see Orange Cassidy be the guy that chases Kenny for the title. It doesn't mean he has to beat him, but I want to see him chase Kenny. I want to see him chase that title.
And that's the thing. At first, I wasn't really a huge fan of his. I mean, I liked his gimmick because it was a little like different than what we're used to. But seeing him against Pac and then Kenny, you're just like, oh wow, this guy's actually pretty good, and the charisma's there, and it's
charisma. It's a charisma without having charisma.
Yeah, exactly.
Not saying that he doesn't. Not saying he's not charismatic, but it's like a different kind of charisma.
Exactly. It's weird because we haven't really seen that before, but his character is pretty interesting. Like we're all drawn into it. And I think that triple threat was fantastic. Another guy who I think was kind of got over was Miro. You know,
yeah, that match with him and Archer, that was the Miro that we were looking to see. That's the Miro I want to see from now on. He's just a straight up killer. Like he is a killer in the ring. And also when he threw the bag, when he threw Jake,
yeah. I saw that
when it was implied that Damien the Snake was in the bag. It was just, man.
Yeah, that was fantastic. For the women's division, Britt Baker beat Hikaru Shida. She's the women's champion now in AEW. I think that's great. You could tell how they were building her up. Like her promo skills are fire.
Yeah.
And that match was great. Like there was literally.
You know what else match was great though in the buy-in? You know what else? What other match was great on the it was on the buy-in. It was Rio versus Serena Deeb for the NWA Women's Championship.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, dude. I'm sure I think the buy-in is on YouTube still. And if not, I mean, they put it out. You got to watch that match. Way better than it had any right to be. And I'm not saying that they're not talented or anything, but we are expecting it. Like, they put on a Dynamite main event in a pre-show.
That's interesting. Well,
it was really good.
I'll definitely look into that because like AEW Dark and Elevation, like those shows where they are highlighting some of the lesser known talent, I think they're giving a good platform for those guys. And a lot of them, they're younger wrestlers, so they're still trying to develop. But some are making their way on the Dynamite in those shows where you're actually hearing their name. And like even the match on Dynamite was Dustin Rhodes and Nick Comoroto. It was like
I trained with Nick.
Yeah, and
I trained with Nick. I was coached by QT Marshall. When I tell you, I can't tell you how happy I am for them. QT, I think QT gets a lot of flack that isn't deserved.
I think he's a good wrestler.
He's so good, but you also have to look at like he's also running a lot of the stuff backstage. He's still helping produce the show as well, but he is. I think that I want to see him and Cody wrestle again because I think they will. I want to see them have a match though that like I know that they would both. You give them enough of a spotlight. I mean, it shouldn't be that hard. Cody's one of the EVPs, right? Like. Mm-hmm. Give them give yourself and QT like a pay-per-view match, and I know that they can put on a fantastic match
easily. Yeah, I think
easily. QT doesn't get enough. QT doesn't get enough credit because he's. This is a quick story. So I was trained by Damian Priest and I was trained by QT Marshall at the Monster Factory. Damian Priest used to go by Luis Martinez. I might call him Luis from time to time. Just forgive me. But there was a match. I stayed after training one night. It was a Friday night, so we would set up for the show, and then the Saturday show would be that next day. And Luis and QT were in the main event. And also another person I trained with, Preston Vance of the Dark Order. He's also involved in it. Yeah. There's a lot of factory guys on AEW, and I'm very happy to see it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But it was I saw them go over everything they were going to do in that match. And I was working sound at the time. I was the guy that would play the music.
Oh, nice.
So I was watching it on hard cam in the back. But I watched them the night before. I watched them put that match together. And granted, I knew everything in that match that was going to happen. And this is how good both of them are, was they still got me. Every false finish, like everything, that's how good they are. I was still like, oh, shit, he kicked out. Like, that's
so wait, you didn't know when they were gonna kick out or anything?
I'm saying I knew every part of that match. I knew every spot that he called. I watched them put it together the night before. I knew when the falsie was coming, and yet it still got me. Like that's awesome. How good that they are.
That's wrestlers. And I think a lot of casual fans, they need that experience because everybody, I feel like they love to downplay wrestling, just saying, "Oh, it's fake."
Oh, I love a good false finish, dude. I love a good falsie. I love a good false finish.
It's awesome
because it gets you and it makes you like, oh fuck, I still feel something here.
When I watch a match and I'm like, oh, that's probably it, and somebody kicks out, I'm like, all right. And then the next time I'm like, yeah, this is probably it, and then they kick out, I'm like, okay.
And that's the sign of it. And that's the sign. And what's great is like how much psychology goes into wrestling, and you're watching a match that then a falsie is like a false finish of someone hitting their finish and the guy kicks out. It's not just 1-2 kick out. It's like 1, 2. And as the ref's about to hit the third, the guy just throws his shoulder up and kicks out. And like a great thing about falsies is how it just shows how ingrained you are with wrestling of like, they might do a sequence of moves that's how the match finished the week before. So it might be like the guy gets low blowed and then he rolls him up a few weeks ago. They do the same thing in that next match. And then it's like, oh shit, they're going to do, oh, he kicked out. Oh my God. I can't believe it. You know,
it's fantastic.
I'm a dork for that kind of stuff. I love it, man.
But in Double or Nothing, another big match was Sting and Darby Allin versus Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. Sting has really helped Darby. I think Sting. I mean, Darby was over, but the pairing with Sting now with Darby, I'm honestly right now after they won, I'm really expecting a heel turn from one of them. I don't
No,
know.
I don't know, man.
You think they're
I
gonna keep the tag team,
I don't know if they're gonna keep the tag team, but like,
or at least like pairing with them?
yeah, I don't know, man. The thing is, there's three guys that I see consistently. Three of the younger people in AEW of like before the pandemic, and seeing like who was dressed up as who. Like, I think the three biggest people to look out for in the next year of who's going to be like I could see. I honestly think Darby could be the one that takes the title off of Kenny.
Oh,
I could
that would
see
be interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
because when you looked at like the early episodes of Dynamite of like the people, like there were kids that were dressed up as Orange Cassidy and there were kids that were dressed up as Darby Allin. Those are the two, I think, two people that are a lot more popular than people might give them credit for. Like the Bucks, it's a given. Moxley, it's a given.
Mhm.
I'm so happy for Eddie. I'm so happy Eddie Kingston's a part of AEW.
Me too.
I'm so glad. He's so freaking good.
Yeah, he's great.
I could listen to him talk. I could listen to him and Mox talk for like hours, just them cut promos.
Oh,
They're
easily.
so good.
Yeah, they're fun. They're just like you want to
And
be a part of it.
but Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy are two people that I could see like. I think this next year you're going to see them in the main event picture a lot more. I really hope that I'm right. I really want to be right.
When you say main event picture, that kind of reminded me at the main event of Double or Nothing, Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle. If for any casual fan, it's hard to describe the Stadium Stampede match, but go back and watch it because that was one of the coolest cinematic slash regular matches because there were elements of it that they're going through I think it was TIAA Bank Stadium, the Jags home stadium,
Yeah.
and they're going through it and they're just brawling, they're just fighting there, and then they go back into the ring and finish it, and it was just so weird, but like it was awesome because you're like, yes, this is the shit that I want to see. I want to, I want to see people getting like bottles thrown at them. I want to see guys go through like, glass doors and go in office buildings. And
yeah, I like cinema. I really enjoy cinematic matches.
Me too.
And I liked like the first Stadium Stampede is always the one that's going to stick out in my mind, especially because it just, I know that the Bucks are so good as heels, but like they would do certain things that were just so fun. Like when Matt Jackson did the Northern Lights suplex, like half the length of the field. Yeah. He just kept rolling through and doing it. And it made me think of like PWG. And if you're a fan of wrestling and you like the Young Bucks and you like that sort, I suggest you watch PWG because it's just fun to watch. Sometimes they get a little outlandish, but it's like a PWG kind of helped. Pro Wrestling Guerrilla helped shape the modern independent wrestling scene. I think when you made it to PWG, that meant that you were a really big deal in indie wrestling. It's where a lot of guys, like especially in Southern California, like guys like SCU, guys like the Bucks, Chuck Taylor, Johnny Gargano, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, like a lot of them. Some of my favorite matches are from those promotions. It just was fun. It was a fun promotion. That's what those kind of matches remind me of.
And then just to recap for AEW Dynamite, that took place on Friday instead of their normal Wednesday night because of the NBA playoffs on TNT. But there weren't too many major things happening, but a few where Andrade made his debut.
Yes.
Fantastic. I love it. He's going to be excellent. I think
he's also because he challenged. He's going to be wrestling Kenny in AAA. So I think that's what they're wrestling. Kenny Omega is the AAA champion at the moment.
Yeah, I think so.
And he's going to be, they're going to be wrestling for the title for AAA in Mexico at some point. So I'm sure he's there to hype that up as well. But it's just, Andrade was so good. One of my favorite matches, like I was there to see it live, was Andrade and Johnny Gargano at TakeOver Philadelphia.
Oh, right.
And just like, you ever watch something live and realize like, oh, we're kind of a part of something special right now. That's what it felt like. Like the only way I could describe it was like my dad was at Roy Halladay's no-hitter when the Phillies went to the World Series in 2009. Right. And it's like the thing about a great match, like the thing about being a part of something special is you kind of realize it midway through of like, oh shit, like this is. There's like a moment where you look around and you take it all in and you're like, oh, this is a fucking big deal.
Yeah.
What's happening right now? Like he was so good at what he did. And I'm happy that he's going to have a new place to showcase what he's good at. And there's so many matches. There's so many people he could go up against and
just a plethora of opponents where they are all going to be like, I don't think there's a bad opponent for him. I think literally like anybody, it's like immediately it's a good match.
Like, I think also if you want to build a superstar around, like, I'm not saying that he should come in and be the enhancement guy, but like he wants some, like you want to put him and Darby in a match together, put him and Jungle Boy in a match together. They have because Andrade's a luchador, but he's not the typical, like, when you think of a lucha libre wrestler, you think of someone who does a lot of the acrobatics, and like Andrade is the glue.
Yeah.
Which Andrade, you need.
Yeah.
It's important when you're you need the glue in a match like that. You need someone that you can wrestle around, and they kind of handle the storytelling
for sure.
And he's gonna be such an asset to AEW. The fact that WWE let him go,
travesty. And
my thoughts exactly.
The way, and I believe the ending of Dynamite, it was Jake Hager. He called out Wardlow to an MMA fight in 2 weeks. So on Dynamite, I guess. I don't know if they'll still be on Fridays or Wednesdays, but it'll be one of those nights. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I understand why they're doing this or like what they're trying to go for, but I don't know. I mean, I'm interested because I'm sure Wardlow can kind of sell it. I don't know how real it's going to be, right? I mean, like, we're talking about professional wrestling, so even though they're going to do their version of an MMA,
I mean, work shoot matches are weird because you're trying to give off. Like, the thing about pro wrestling is it used to be what MMA was. There used to be it used to be shoot fights that would go 1 to 2 minutes and they'd finish quickly. And then like it started in the carnies, like the road shows and stuff.
Yeah.
And this is like back in the era of Frank Gotch and George Hackenschmidt and guys like that. Like, this is, and then they decided, hey, like, why don't we try and draw this out a little bit, give the crowd some of their money's worth. So it's weird to see, and then it became more of a show, more of a spectacle. They drag it out a little bit more, and then like, okay, we'll wrestle like we'll drag it out 3 rounds, and then let's finish this, right? It's interesting now to see work shoot matches, in pro wrestling, because it's like I'll be honest, I'll watch UFC if I want to watch that, but I don't watch UFC. I watch wrestling. So I think as long as they make it entertaining, but also it's a tricky thing because you got to make it also like realistic. Maybe if they do it in rounds, I'd be interested to see that. Because
you got to think about it. Hager is an actual MMA fighter. Like,
well, he's an actual wrestler. Yeah. Like the guy, not only is he a Bellator fighter, guy was an All-American.
Mm-hmm. So that's the thing. Like I don't doubt what he can do in the ring but like with Wardlow, I don't know if he's got the prowess. Now, maybe he's been doing some training last couple of months.
Well, I mean, we also don't know how much, like, there's so many more people that have more of a legitimate background than you think. They just don't talk about it as much.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, like I bet you didn't know that Santino is a fucking world-class jiu-jitsu fighter.
I did not.
Santino Marella, yeah, he was on the American or Canadian like jiu-jitsu team. He could kill me with a napkin. But what he was really good at was the comedy stuff. That's what made him his most money. Nick Camarado is another guy. Nick Camarado is an All-American wrestler. He and Riddle used to be a team at the factory. They were called Shooters Inc. And when you're a shooter in wrestling, that means like when you're a shoot fighter, you're legit. You could tie someone up in a pretzel. He's got an amazing amateur background, but he's also freakishly strong and he's a beast. So they don't have him wrestle like Owen Hart. They don't have him wrestle like Daniel Bryan because he can just throw you around.
Exactly.
I think it'll be surprising. I'm just interesting. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they make it compelling.
100%.
Yeah.
But there you have it. This has been the first edition, the first episode of the wrestling series here on Bringing the Heat. Lucas, I am super proud. Thank you for joining me. This
Thank you
has
for
been
having
super
me.
fun. I believe we're going to follow the same format. I'll probably text you in future episodes and see if you want to come on. We can talk whatever promotion shows, whatever pay-per-views, whatever's going on in wrestling, or just news in general. But it has been fantastic. I appreciate your time. Any last words for the fans?
You mind if I plug some stuff real quick?
Go for it.
Follow me on Instagram at MrFanspastic318. I'm on Twitter at Twitchy_master. And I have a pro wrestling tees site. www.prowrestlingtees.com/MrFanspastic. I have a few t-shirts up there, and just you can find out where I'll be wrestling and see clips and all that stuff. And thank you for having me on this. It's always fun to talk wrestling, and hopefully I'll be able to be on again sometime soon in my busy schedule.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.